Hi guys, welcome back. So, could the health sector starting from 2021 to be the heated sector for investors just like the EV sector in 2020? And if so, what aspects in these sectors should we look at? Because there are many different aspects, and also in different aspects, what stocks can we look at? Individual companies and US versus China in terms of the investing environment for the health sector. Let's discuss that in the video. I first need to admit that I am no expert in the health sector, so this video is more like to introduce you guys and also attract more expert in this field, so then we can receive more thoughts and opinions. Okay, now first of all, sector is becoming a very important word after the year 2020, because you might feel that your stocks are going down regardless of the fundamental. You feel like it's a good company and it's just not growing. And there is a good chance that it's not the company, it is the sector. In the year of 2020, we had a lot of heated sectors like the EV, the SaaS, the solar, all the home economy related to COVID, the MJ, etc. All these sectors were super hot, especially among the retail investors. So, like always, there is a cycle in every sector that starts in fear, grows in observation, and ends in greed. And when there is too much greed on certain sectors, like the end of last year and beginning of this year, the sectors would have a strong need of cooling off. And that's why a lot of the retail investors would be caught holding the bags, like most of us are right now, holding bags of certain sectors like EV and solar, for example. So you might feel frustrated that why are some stocks just been falling or not doing much, even though there are so many good news. Nothing can drive the share price up or rally again like last year. And it might not have to do with the company itself, but more like the sector is in the cool-off period, the cycle that we cannot counter. Meanwhile, the smart money would be moving into the other sectors that was not heated like before, so there are less retail investors holding bags. Less bag holders means easier to pull up, and there you can start the cycle again. This is why sector is more important than the individual companies right now, and this is for the medium to long term. Some people say a cycle of a sector takes usually 2 to 3 years per cycle. But I think there are exceptions or variables. For example, when a sector is in such a fast growth rate, the demand is in such urgency, then I think the cycle would be shorter. For example, EV is what I emphasize a lot, that it is still a no-brainer. Even though we are not in the bull cycle right now, we're in a cooling off period, I still think its demand is much stronger, and also the growth rate is too fast, beating everyone's expectations, so it can still beat most of the sectors, stretching out to a long run. And because of the EV, it would create such a big demand for energy, so that's why the solar sector I'm also quite optimistic about, and think that these two sectors would start the bull cycle again sooner than the usual period. Meanwhile, the smart money are also looking for new sectors to invest in, which I think they have been moving into. For example, like health sector. I think this is one of the sectors to move into since the year of 2021, and which is why I was also looking into the other sectors, like for example, smart agriculture, which I was mentioning before, the chip sector, which I also emphasized a few times, the blockchain sector, which I kept saying that it's my second half of 2021 sector. And I think the heat is definitely boiling up. And then also maybe the logistic. So this year, all the heated sectors from before, like the SaaS, software as a service, the home economy, like shop at home and work at home, like e-commerce and online working, and 5G, all these sectors are not at their glory as before. So you either want to be patient with them believing in the companies you're investing in. Or you can also move part of the money portfolio in sectors that was not as heated before, kind of to see whether it can have some movement while you are holding onto your long-term position. So more diversify. And when one sector is not moving, the other sector might be moving. Certain sectors are more volatile and the other sectors are more stabilized. So then your portfolio can be more inactive. So right now, we're in a very special environment for the new tax. Why? Because of there is the timing, which ARK Invest gave a whole speech about how all the technologies are crossing each other, creating exponential growth at this stage. All the seeds were planted since the internet bubble. And there's another key factor, which is the geopolitical problem. This is also special for the period. Some people find this issue make the environment very hard to invest, but at the same time, we can also take advantage of it because a lot of the new technology would have a boost because of this fierce competition of the new technology. And because both US and China wants to be the leader in these fields, so they would spend much more effort creating very competitive environment, boosting the speed of the growth of these new techs. So this is why when we invest in these new tech sectors, we also look at the US and China politics environment to decide which sector to invest in which country. Okay, for now, let's focus on the health sector. This sector is also a big sector with many aspects, so we need to take a look at the macro trend and then divide it into aspects. On the video, I talked about Zepp Health. I shared an article that says healthcare was the technology that's the most behind in terms of adaptation and application, and it was suddenly boosted up because of COVID. So that's why the whole year of 2020, you see a lot more startup raising fund. That it's in the private market, and private market is usually an early indicator of the public market. So this is the trend of funding in the private market. So well-being and care delivery innovators surpass data and platform to become the most funded sector in the recent years. So you can see the rising trend, the light green to be healthcare. And the money that this sector had received for the first half of 2021 had already surpassed the whole year of 2020. So growing more than 100% rate. So we see the macro environment for health tech is growing at a fast rate, and if we compare US and China, there's no doubt that the US health tech is much more advanced than China. All these years, China is much more behind. So to invest in the US health sector, a more mature and developed industry to invest in, you have a lot more existing companies that are big, but China would give more room to grow since it has a lot more to catch up. This article from McKinsey gives out good insight why China is the most exciting healthcare story in the world right now. One, the potential for patient and economic impact is gigantic. They started from a low ground and they have very ambitious goals, meaning they have a lot more room to catch up. By 2030, the hope of the Chinese government is to create 16 trillion RMB healthcare ecosystem. Chinese labs are growing in terms of their innovation level, and it's because of a lot of the international students going back to China, since there is great opportunity there and it is strongly supported by the government. Number 3, fast and furious reforms at the CFDA or NMPA. It says the reform is much deeper, broader, and faster than any other sectors to boost up the degree of innovations. So China would be a lot more integrated into global drug trials and launches. And the speed of the new drugs getting approved is very fast at the record high level. Number 4, the renewed optimism at pharma MNCs. So there is a great optimism going on, realizing that Chinese market is an inflection point when it comes to opportunity for partnership and innovation. So some multinationals are becoming more China-centric in their global strategy. So a lot of large organizations are reaching out, expanding into China, joining the innovation there, at the same time giving more pressure for the mature brands. Number 5, the PAT are here to disrupt healthcare. Usually we say the tech giants as BAT, Baidu, Tencent, Alibaba, but this time it's called the PAT and P for Ping An, which is the biggest health insurance company in China. So I guess the PAT is the BAT for health sector. So the rapid emergence of the three tech giants are making a large bet on the healthcare. And in a few years, they have achieved a lot of things, including developing a complex ecosystem, allowing them to impact the full patient care value chain. I think this is something that's very important for the Chinese population, for the Chinese government. Big and long-term issue to solve. Most recent entrants such as JD.com, which we know that they're making the JD Health platform just like the Ali Health, joining the party for innovation. And these few companies would likely lead the disruptive innovation of healthcare in China. Number 6, China cash is available and actively looking for opportunities globally. Chinese funds are playing an increasing visible role supporting US-based biotech, also turning towards Europe. Number 7, make way for the Hong Kong exchange train. This has always been my personal conviction, is that the Hong Kong financial market would grow exponentially in the coming years, and the high-tech companies would for sure support that. And right now we have many more health tech companies listed in Hong Kong than US, and that would explain why. And last point is Chinese biotechs coming of age. So the Chinese biotech companies are also trying very hard to catch up with making new drugs, while mostly are catching up what the US or Europe have been doing. But there are a few that are truly innovative. And on this point, I would like to add, because there is a massive hidden trend going on, which is to make Chinese medicine adapt to the modern health technology to become the new norms or the alternatives for the Western medicine. I think this is one of the big missions for the new drugs development for the biotech company in China. And I think it is a very big mission for the presidency to develop Chinese cultures and expand it more to the world, increase the Chinese culture's influence instead of only importing Western culture and adopt it domestically. I think he would very much want it to be vice versa, for it to go both ways. That will explain why there is a lot happening in the Chinese health sector. It might turn out to be quite an exciting sector. Now, there's another aspect to look at it, which is the third child policy aspect, because right now this is what the Chinese would call the roots of the Chinese economy. If the population problem doesn't get solved, it would affect the foundation of the growth, and this is not acceptable. So that's why a lot of things happening for this. There's a saying called the three mountains, which are the three biggest barriers for this growth of population, and they are education, real estate, and health. These are the three mountains that the Chinese government need to solve with urgency. They need to significantly lower the cost, the three sectors for the biggest cost for people's everyday living, which is why we are seeing so many regulations towards these three sectors recently, and their share price have been falling super hard. When there's danger, there's also opportunity. For the health sector, a lot of the stocks have been driven down for the fear of regulations, and this is why it would create also some opportunities after the share price dip. And also the government needs to regulate this sector into making the cost more friendly for people. Doesn't mean destroying the sector. In fact, they need the health sector, the health tech very much to improve people's health condition. And theoretically, as long as the innovation keep growing fast, the cost for healthcare and medicine should all be reducing as long as the innovation can keep going. So this is an extra urgency for health tech, create massive opportunities for biotech companies. So there's fear, there's opportunity. But I don't think the government would turn any pharmaceutical companies into non-profit organizations. At most, they would make them reduce the cost, reduce the margin, at most. There was news in August, I don't know if you had paid attention to. It is that China has a very ambitious plan to build sports industry into 5 trillion yuan industry by the year of 2025. It says it's because it's driven by the Olympic grades, but I don't think that's it. It just shows that the government is getting more and more concerned about the health conditions for Chinese people. So they want everyone to get moving. They want the sports industry to grow massively. It also explains why the national brands for sportswear, Li-Ning and Anta, the share price have skyrocketed this year in the Hong Kong market. It was a crazy rally, but now it's near the end, getting into a correction though. Anyways, that just enhancing the health problems of the Chinese people and why the government is very concerned. Another hint is that from the 13th of Hill House Capital, the company BGNE continued to be the number one position for Hill House Capital, 1.8 billion, taking up almost 20% of their total portfolio. Very heavy position. Hill House Capital is betting big in the health sector of China, and they should be the ones that are quite sensitive to the Chinese government policy. So that is a good sign. News out yesterday on Friday was about the Chinese government banning the US IPO from domestic tech companies with sensitive data. So it's covering many different sectors like public communication, information services, energy, transportation, waterworks, finance, public services. Pretty sure that most of us hold at least one, if not more, of these sectors. So it's specifically targeting tech firms with user-related data, and companies that are less data-heavy, such as pharmaceutical, could be insulated from the IPO ban. So yes, that would be another way to see that how the government is indirectly supportive of pharmaceutical companies because they want to encourage international collaborations. Now that I have shared the macro trend for the healthcare sector, it's a lot to cover in one video. Because it is a big sector, it is the trend, the future, and a lot of opportunities lies in between. So next video, I'm gonna put more sharing into the different aspects in the sector and the stocks that I am looking at. A research company had helped us divide this sector into 9 different divisions, and I am pretty sure in each of them there would be a good stocks, a good company to give good potential. And we will elaborate more into that in my next video. Now, if you have enjoyed this video, please give me a big like and write me a great comment, and I'll see you in my next video. That's it, guys. Hope you can find my videos helpful. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and give me a big like. Thank you.